Ever imagined a series where you're stuck in a world filled with incredibly attractive half-naked elves and the odds are stacked 8-1 in their favor? Are you going to surrender to their charms or stand your ground as a man? Welcome to Slave Knights of the Elf. Luckily, Anime-Sham will fight this battle for you, so sit back and relax, grab your tissues, and get ready for some pillow-clutching moments. A big shout-out to the brilliant minds of Hong Bang Jiang and Meng Wangling for crafting this gem. I repeat, the Elven population is 80% female and mostly half-dressed, so spicy, racy, and body moments are sure to keep you all captivated. Things are about to get intense. Remember, all rights for this creation are reserved by the creators themselves. Let's go. The first scene unfolds like a dramatic showdown with soldiers fighting for their lives. Suddenly, out of the blue, a soldier shouts to someone who appears to be their general. I really thought he was a she at first, but the general is actually a guy. Now this dude is seriously strong, like a one-man army. He's swinging swords and crackling with lightning, making him look like a total superhero. And who's he facing off against? Some drop-dead gorgeous elf ladies. These gals are all about nature and peace, or so they claim. They're supposed to be all classy and elegant, but honestly, they look more like they're heading to a bar party. According to these elf ladies, our guide general managed to take down their chief warrior. That's a clear sign that he's incredibly powerful. But no matter how strong he is, they still managed to capture him, and at this point, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. One of the elves wondered what to do with the guys who ran away, and another lady nonchalantly replied that they should catch them and squeeze their balls. Well, that's a pretty unique way to handle things.
Stop it. Get some help.
While these elf ladies are waiting for reinforcements, one of them decides to get very up close and personal with our general. She starts unbuttoning her tiny clothes, and it's quite the surprising turn of events. And all of this in just the first few pages. It seems like we're in for a story full of intriguingly salacious and humorous moments. But just before things get too cozy, the general breaks free from his restraints and nearly gives the elf lady a big scare. He's not letting her get anywhere near him. Anyway, they decide to tie him up again, but this time they use chains that can absorb mana. It's like some magical energy you might see in video games. So there's no escaping this time, and he is stuck on a carriage ride with a gorgeous elf lady with enormous assets. I'm literally surprised that they've captured quite a few other guys too. These ladies are certainly quite interested in the male company. Meanwhile, the girl who's been keeping an eye on the general decides to go check out the other prisoners. As soon as she got out, a golden-haired fellow suddenly showed up in front of our general, and guess what? He's got the key to set them free. His name is Izana. They rush out, and what's more, they decide to put on a little display of their fighting skills. It's pretty clear that this guy is no pushover, as he takes down the elf ladies in a flash. I don't know why, but it feels kind of different to see the guys beating the elven girls. It's not something you come across every day. Plus, it's worth noting that these elf soldiers are wearing the kinkiest kind of bathing suits paired with thigh-high boots, which adds quite an interesting visual element to the scene, to be honest.
Oh my god! Wow!
We're still in the dark about the guy's superpowers, but hopefully, they'll fill us in soon. But just before he can pull off his escape, a golden-haired elf in a snazzy suit shows up. As it turns out, she's one of the Helenwood Knights, and her name is Ardena. Remember earlier when they spilled the beans about our general defeating a chief warrior? Well, that's her. She's the one. And she finally spills the beans about our general's name. His name is Yushin Gilliard. Ardena is undeniably powerful, but even she can't take down Yushin. However, it's pretty clear the odds are stacked against the guys here.
Damn!
They've even captured Asana, and they've beaten him up pretty badly. Yushin finds himself in a tight spot and has no choice but to surrender. Yushin was about to step up to defend Asana, but to his surprise, the elf lady standing beside Ardena grabs him. She exposes his tattoo, or what they call a stigma, which seems to be a big deal. The following day, Yushin, Asana, and the others are all set to be auctioned off. Yep, these guys are in for a pretty wild auction. They might end up as special company slaves or good old labor slaves. To their surprise, the elves have provided them with some pretty nice suits. I mean, if you're about to be sold, you might as well look presentable, right? Yushin is up first for the auction, and he and Asana both hope for a brighter future where they can reunite. Meanwhile, Asana is left alone in her room. Then two girls come barging in, and let's just say they seem quite eager for some company. Consensual or not. Poor Asana. You could probably guess what happened next.
Right college for free. Get connected for free. Free with education connection. Get connected for free. Free with education connection.
Just picture two lady elves having the ultimate contest to win his affection and attention. And it's safe to say Asana is starting to enjoy their company more and more. It may have started off with some illegal and non-consensual acts, but near the end of it, everyone joins in for the wild ride. It's like a romantic comedy turned adult. But for the sake of keeping things family-friendly, we won't get into too much of the steamy details. In the meantime, Yushin was auctioned off for a whopping 50 million. And who bought him? None other than Ardena herself. I knew there was something about you, Ardena. Now, the reason she bought Yushin is because she believes he's the only one who can teach her younger sister some necessary skills. They're both high elves, but for some reason her little sister can't control mana. So she figures Yushin might be able to show her how to do things the human way. Here we meet Aron, Ardena's younger, cheekier sister. After some pushback, Yushin agrees to teach her in exchange for a comfortable bed, good food, and nice clothes. The siblings are fine with that arrangement. And just as Yushin predicted, this marks the beginning of his life as a slave to the elves. Yushin teaches Aron all sorts of things, like sword fighting, and gives Aron the confidence to excel. Of course, there are some cheeky moments along the way, like the high elf showing her bazookas and offering herself to our buddy Yushin.
She belongs to the streets,
which he politely rejected for the moment. But let's not dive too deep into that right now. So in a nutshell, Aron was getting bullied because despite being high elf, she doesn't know how to handle mana, and she's constantly compared to her older sister Ardena. The next day, Aron and Yushin head out to buy Aron's training clothes. Yushin fantasized that Aron might go for something like a maid outfit or sporty leggings, but she surprised him by choosing transparent lingerie. It turns out that they need to show skin to generate mana, and modest clothing that covers the body makes it tricky for them to do so. With her new revealing outfit, their training sessions begin, and Aron's sword skills start to shape up nicely. It's hard to say how many days have passed, but they're really getting into the swing of it. After the training, Yushin starts channeling mana through Aron's body, and he's shocked to discover that she can create another flame seed within her. Later that night, we catch a glimpse of Ardena reading a book. It's been a while since we've seen Ardena and Yushin together, and things are about to get interesting. A chatty crow makes an appearance. Surprisingly, this crow has quite the cheeky attitude. It even asks Ardena if they'd done the naughty, assuming something happened during their carriage ride, since the carriage motion would make it an easy task.
This one.
What?
I couldn't help but laugh when Ardena tossed her book at the crow's face. Now remember that tattoo, or what they call a stigma, on Yushin's back? Well, it seems that's the main reason Ardena bought Yushin. Evidently, those markings signify that a person is from another world. It's not entirely clear what's going on, but it's obvious that they consider Yushin to be someone unique, like a catalyst for new cultures, or possibly even a demon lord. The crow goes on to say that Yushin is incredibly powerful, and they're well aware of his capabilities. The next scene shows Ardena with her father. From their conversation, it appears that humans from Yushin's world are suggesting a negotiation for the release of war prisoners, even though they're the ones who started the war. Typical humans. Aron joins the conversation and pleads with her father to let Yushin stay with them. It's starting to look like she has a soft spot for Yushin. But then, things take a funny turn when a maid from the house is caught deeply sniffing Yushin's clothes and has some weird fantasies of her own. There's some confusion because it seems like all the maids think that Yushin and Ardena have already been intimate. Just to set the record straight, Ardena claims to be a virgin and swears she'll never marry nor buy a human slave. But in a surprising twist, she ends up purchasing Yushin with her own funds for marriage. Now that's a real curveball in the story. As the maid is doing her best to proposition Yushin, out of nowhere Ardena pops up. She quickly asks the maid to give them some privacy. But before your mind goes wandering into some wild territory, I'm gonna give you a heads up. They're just having a friendly chat. Ardena thanks Yushin for being Aron's mentor and shyly extends an invitation for him to stay. But Yushin has a single request. He'd like to see Asana and the gang. The next day, the daughter of the Santander's family pays a visit to the Valencia household, which, by the way, is Ardena's turf. She's quite the contrast to our revealing clothes-wearing crew, more like a dignified princess. And now for the comedy twist. Yushin is caught red-handed, sneakily checking out a maid's bum-bums.
Damn!
Can you believe it? While Yushin might have some wild daydreams, I never expected him to become a maid's butt inspector.
you stupid.
And then, the training session kicks off for Yushin and Aron. Aron's skills are steadily improving, but they decide to take a break when her back starts aching. That's when Aaron decides to have a heart-to-heart with Yushin about his rather peculiar habit of ogling at their maids. Oh, and remember that girl from the Santander's household. Her name is Retisha. She walks in on Yushin giving Aaron an intense massage, and she jumps to some rather scandalous conclusions, thinking they're up to all sorts of intimate stuff right in the middle of the backyard. Stupid! As it turns out, Yushin was simply giving Aaron a back massage to ease her discomfort. When Retisha finally finds out, she goes on a rant, wondering how Aaron could allow a human to get so close and personal. But the real comedy gem is when she discovers that Yushin was the one who defeated Ardena. You see, she had this grand image in her head of a dashing, heroic, noble knight as the guy who defeated Ardena, not a lovable goofball like Yushin. While Retisha gives Yushin a disapproving look, our Yushin here is lost in his own daydreams, thinking about all sorts of wild scenarios. Her bazookas being the main attraction. Suddenly, Yushin unexpectedly switches gears and starts acting like a true gentleman, saying things that made Retisha swoon. There's definitely something unusual going on, and Aaron can sense it too. Jealousy mode unlocked. Get ready for drama, guys. Hey, still watching? Make sure to subscribe and smash that like button for a regular dose of our awesome anime content.
Subscribe!
I'm absolutely sure you're on the edge of your seat, and if you're itching to discover what crazy twists lie ahead, be sure to stick around and watch this video till the very end. Will Yushin find his way back home, or will he end up staying in the land of enchanting elves? Who knows? So keep those eyeballs glued to the screen.
Dirty pervert!
Before we uncover more juicy secrets, let's dive into the episode we just witnessed. Now, I have to confess that when I first started, I was half expecting this to be just another one of those mature comics with a heavy dose of fan service. But hold on to your hats because I'm here for the plot. This story throws the usual script out the window. Instead of the typical scenario where guys are capturing girls, it's the ladies who are capturing male slaves this time, and they run the show. Talk about turning the tables and shaking things up. Girl power? Now let's chat about the characters. Some of them are pretty enthusiastic, but I've got to give a thumbs up to Yushin. He's a stand-up guy who isn't taking advantage of the elves, despite their cheeky attitudes. What's interesting is that they've portrayed Yushin with a blend of goodness and a sprinkle of a naughty and wild imagination. And let's not forget the fantastic expressions and animations in this story. Those hilarious faces are a gem that adds so much detail and humor to the tale. And even though the chapters may run on the longer side, it's all worth it. Nice. Overall, I give this story a solid 9 out of 10. There are some pretty wild and explicit moments, but what I enjoy the most are those moments with a serious tone that give depth to the plot. Now, one particular scene that caught my eye is when Yushin stops Aaron from getting too close, even when she tries to seal a promise in a more, shall we say, intimate way. I really appreciate how he handles the situation with tact and respect. Sure, he might have some wild thoughts going on in that imaginative mind of his, but he's an absolute gentleman. And let's not forget that cheeky crow. It adds a touch of mischievous humor to the story and teases Ardena, if we are being honest, clearly has a soft spot for Yushin. What's great about her character is that she doesn't go overboard with wild antics like some of the other girls. I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm secretly hoping that Yushin and Ardena end up together. But enough about my thoughts. I'm dying to hear your take on all the hilarity and budding romance in this exciting tale. So don't keep me in suspense, spill the beans. What are your thoughts on this delightfully indecent and charmingly risque story? Who's your favorite partner for our general? Is it the daring Retisha, the dynamic Aaron, the enchanting Ardena? Or maybe you're secretly rooting for one of those maids? Will Yushin ever leave the Elven kingdom? What's the secret power that the crow was blabbing about? What's up with the seductive, uncontrollable elves everywhere? What's the most intriguing mystery or plot twist you're hoping to unravel in the upcoming chapters of this webtoon? Any wild theories to share? Leave your thoughts, insights, and kitty cat emojis in the comments below. After all, the best part of this journey is discussing the twists and turns of this engaging and ludicrous story with all of you. And remember, the clips you've seen in this video belong to their original creators. Our mission is to have a genuine and meaningful chat about this captivating and wild manhwa. So let's continue sharing our enthusiasm. Before we part ways, make sure to hit that like button, and if you made it all the way to the end with me, don't forget to comment a kitty cat. This is your anime sensei signing off.